Let's do some Q&A style videos. It's been quite a while since I've done one of these. I used to mix up my gamelog videos where I'd obviously be playing games with stuff like this where I answer questions. And realistically, I answer like 5 questions a day over on TikTok every day. And I feel like I could probably expand on that a little bit more over here. And hey, it's just more content to create as well, right? So it's just win-wins all around. So, I suppose let's get started. Question number 1. Why don't you use a proper capture card for YouTube? This one's kind of long-winded and it goes back years, but first of all, let me show you something. I do actually have a capture card wired up to my entire setup. All of my main consoles anyway are passed through it so that I can record them. However, I still don't do it. What I actually do is use the camera that I'm recording with now. Let me get back into the light so that you guys can actually see things. So the reason that I don't use a capture card is that if I do, my content is then kind of just like everybody else. Everybody uses a capture card, and success does leave clues. Like in reality, it probably does look better. But I, over the years, have grown a gaming account on TikTok to 250,000 followers, where I've only ever filmed my TV with my phone. And I've always thought surely people would prefer to see it screen captured because it's just prettier, right? But when it comes to engagement, when it comes to people and the vibe that the videos give out, people always enjoyed when I would record the TV more. The vibe that I'm trying to bring to the gaming videos is that you guys are sat like next to me on the sofa while we're chilling with the game. That's kind of what I'm thinking when I'm doing all of this. And to be real with you, it is a lot easier to film these videos with this camera because I can just stop and start, and I don't have to worry about signals dropping. I don't have to worry about whether things are in sync or how the audio sounds or balancing my audio with the game audio because everything is coming in. I don't have to worry about, for example, if I'm emulating something, being able to record that and just that being a different process to recording a console. There are so many levels to recording things that I think a lot of people that haven't recorded things before as a job don't think about because it's never that simple. I remember when for years I wanted to be like a gaming creator, and when I was a kid, I was a teenager, I would try and do it, and it was before the days where things would just automatically sync. You'd have to record a audio file in Audacity and record another one with your Hawk HTPVR or your Dazzle, and you'd have to clap so that there'd be a spike on the audio, and you'd have to sync it up in post with something like moving through the menu so that it spiked. Yeah, it was a different time. Obviously, now that's not really the case because you can just use OBS, and it is possible. But the thing is that gaming like that is a dime a dozen. There's 1,000,001 people doing Let's Plays and things like that, and I'm trying to not just be a Let's Player. Like, I kind of want you guys to be able to experience an entire game with me in a single video in the space of usually no more than about an hour. Like, realistically, most games are not going to take longer than that. Like, obviously, Elden Ring took like 3 hours because that was basically 2 whole playthroughs, and I wasn't brilliant at it, so it took me longer than it should have done. And Elden Ring in itself is a pretty big game. But yeah, I'm trying to bring a different vibe to my videos, and it's also a lot easier for me to make the videos when it's just using the camera. We're in a bit of an era at the minute in content creation where lower edited videos sort of perform better. People like the more genuineness of it. So anyone that's into fitness at all knows Sam Sulek, right? And that his style blew up because of his lack of editing, because of his realness. Like, even me showing you the question that I am answering right now was me filming my monitor rather than, like, I don't know, me editing up the question here. I try not to do too much editing, like, at all. I don't really do much editing whatsoever. I just clip all of the... I press stop and start on the camera all day, put all of those files together, and boom, there's my video. And that means that my content creation flow is easy. Speaking of content creation flow, is that I need to make sure that what I do stays fun for me. And the kind of a question that I also get that's along those same lines that has the same answer as I'm about to give is, why do I not stream? And it's because when I'm playing games and like actively not filming, I've got like a video on in the background. Like, there's a guy on YouTube called Golden Bolt. He did retrospectives for the entirety of the Ratchet and Clank franchise. I was watching those while I was playing through Dark Souls. So it would be hard for me to be both watching those and also have OBS open so that I can film when I need to film. Whereas if I just have... Let me show you how this works. Whereas if I just have this across my leg, this is the tripod that the camera was sat on just now while I was talking and through all of my gaming videos. The camera sits on here, pointed at my TV. If I just have that be the setup, then it doesn't interrupt anything I'm doing over there, and it keeps it more fun. Again, the same reason that I don't stream is that I stop and I start and I go say hello to my partner and see to the dog, and I have to eat because of the gym stuff. I eat every couple of hours. So like streaming wouldn't be for me. It's a whole different style. You have to be on permanently and engaging with chat rather than like necessarily paying attention to the game. Streaming wouldn't be for me. I've tried a few times, granted. And speaking of trying things, I have tried the capture card route millions of times. Whenever I on TikTok have done it, even on YouTube as well. Actually, when I record with my capture card, the videos perform worse generally. They just do. Lower watch time percentages, lower engagement, lower click through rates. I don't know. I do get a lot of comments. Granted, I get more people telling me they prefer me recording my TV screen than I do comments saying they wish I use a capture card. So that remains positive. Granted, I am always open to change. Like, maybe at some point I'll do like an entire month where every playthrough I do that month I record with a capture card just to see. But again, I think that me recording my TV screen is something that's quite unique to me. It's uniquely my setup. It's my room, my office, my TV, you know. And let's be real here, my TV is 77 inches, so like, it still takes up the majority of your guys' viewing screen when you watch me play stuff. Like, if I just swing it around, obviously there's my ring light in the way right now, but like, the frame is still mostly the TV, you know? So it's like, I don't feel like we miss out on too much via me recording with this. And again, it's all about the vibe that I'm trying to bring across. And then again, because I'm always very transparent about like business side of things, because I just am, I find it interesting. I find that, well, at the moment on YouTube, my following, my views and things like that are something like 70 or 80% 25 and older, which is brilliant. Which is brilliant. It means that most of my followers are older than me. And what that means from a business perspective is it means that the amount I get paid for my views is higher than is normal for a gamer. So on YouTube, what is pretty normal for a gamer is £2 to £3 per 1,000 views. I get between £4 to £7 sometimes. Like, I get a decent amount of a decent RPM for the amount of views that I get, considering the niche that I'm in. And it's primarily because of my older audience. So basically, your RPM is determined by the audience that is watching. When your audience is younger, they have less spending power, and therefore the stuff that is advertised to them is worth less. And because it's worth less, you get paid less for those views. It's why finance YouTubers, for example, they get paid tons per 1,000 views, because the things that are being advertised to their audience are much more expensive, and their audience are already people who are interested in money and probably have a decent amount of it, you know? So generally on YouTube, the older your audience is, the more money you get paid for it. And I find that the audience that I'm cultivating through doing this is generally an older audience. It also helps that I talk and play about older games all the time as well. But I think that if I was to record with a capture card and it was very normal and very standardized versus what everybody else is doing, that A, I'd lose that sort of aspect that's uniquely me. B, I think it would lean itself towards more the younger audience again, which would inherently mean that I might end up getting paid less. Might it offset itself? Perhaps, because here's the thing is, maybe in the long term, if I did screen record, I'd end up getting more views, and those more views would perhaps mean that the lower RPM evens out and I end up getting paid more, but who knows? Either way, so there's loads of reasons why I don't record that way, and it's just, I think it suits me. It's a way that I found that's pretty fun, and it's a way that I can also repurpose those same clips to TikTok as well, whereas it is quite hard to repurpose them when they're recorded horizontally in capture card, especially when my audience on there is used to recording with a phone. Most of them probably haven't noticed that it isn't a phone anymore recording the TV and that it's a camera, but it just keeps it unique to my style, you know? And it worked for 250,000 followers over there, and if it can even do a small fraction of that here, I'll be pretty happy. Like, my goals for numbers is if I could get to like 10 to 15,000 views per day on YouTube, that'd be pretty cool. I tend to average about 4,000 at the minute, so I only need to like double or triple it, which isn't absurd. A lot of people would I want to do 100 times as many views. Nah, not me. That'll do. Anyway, next question, because I've been rattling on about this one quite a while. How I ever do 1 minute long videos on TikTok, I don't know. This one's a funny one. How often, if ever, do you get bored of a game halfway through a playthrough and move on to something else? Oh, I wish my brain had let me do that. Quite literally, never. Never. Not anymore. In the entire time that I've had my game log where I track and you know, well, track the games that I play and beat, I have never quit a game and moved on to something else. I can't do it. Once okay, so a bit of a rant here. I probably do have ADHD and autism because I've got all of the signs. I know that I do. I have a spreadsheet for everything. I'm a very obsessive person. But because I've never been officially diagnosed, I refuse to outright say I'm autistic because I feel like that's a thing a lot of people do. They'll be like, aren't I a little bit quirky? I've got autism. Yeah, do you though? Or are you just a bit quirky? Or looking to feel special in some sort of way? So I refuse to be that person. But in reality, I probably do. And this is another sign of that where because once I've started something, I have to see it through. And that is kind of with everything in life. Like, I've always been the sort of person where a promise has meaning to me. If I make a promise, I will follow through on it. If I say I will do something, I will do it. If I say that I will be somewhere at a certain time, I will be there at that time. Very precisely, very accurately. Have to, or I will disappoint myself. It's one of them. So with the game log and playing games, it's very rare. It's never in 5 years have I outright just gone, I'm bored of this and done something else instead. I will always see it through. Because most games are typically not as long as you think. So even if you do get bored, and especially bad games as well. Like if I just name some bad games, you don't realise how short they often are. So like Devil May Cry 2, for example, is notoriously not a very good game. And yet, I think it's 2 hours. I think my last playthrough of Devil May Cry 2 took me 2 hours. So it's often a case of I can be like, right, I can knuckle down and for the next 2 hours just grind this out and beat it because it's just not that much of a time sink. And my brain will be more satisfied by seeing it on the log with the rest of its franchise than if I'd have skipped it. And then in future, every time I look back on it, I will see that it isn't there, you know? So it's almost never. If I start a game, I will almost always, up to now anyway, literally always, play it until it is done. Next question, does Instagram actually pay? I heard that it's a dead format for creators who want to make money. So does Instagram pay directly? No, not at all. So I've got something like 44,000 followers on Instagram. And the last few weeks since I've been posting my game collecting videos over on there, I've been getting like hundreds of thousands of views a day and no, not a penny from it. However, you do end up making some money from it because, for example, I'm sure there is somebody watching this video who came from Instagram when I announced on Instagram that I have a YouTube. And that's how you can use that as a platform to help grow here. So, for example, growing on YouTube can be pretty difficult if YouTube is your only platform, but you can use other platforms to try to push people across. Granted, that is harder than you'd think. For example, on TikTok, if you ask somebody to do something on TikTok, 9 times out of 10 it's a no. It's probably worse rating than that. It is really hard to get people on short form content to move across. But historically, Instagram, it is easier to get people to move across from. It is why when a business reaches out to a content creator to work with them for a sponsored post, typically they see Instagram as the more valuable platform. For example, if you have 100,000 followers on Instagram and 100,000 followers on TikTok, typically you will be able to command a higher rate for the views that you get on Instagram versus TikTok, because typically those views on Instagram are far more likely to convert into an actionable thing, into clicks, into sales, whatever it might be, whatever the business wants to have happen. It is far more likely to happen through Instagram than it is on TikTok. So while TikTok does directly pay for views and Instagram does not, Instagram can be better for trying to sell things or get people to do things. So for example, when fitness was my big thing, I definitely sold a lot more fitness programs through Instagram than I do anywhere else. Through my sponsor now, where it's my protein, I know for a fact that I do better when I do my deliverables on Instagram than when I do them on TikTok. They get more views. People are more likely to actually go and get stuff from my protein on Instagram than they are TikTok. It's just kind of the way platforms have always been. Instagram followers tend to be a little bit more, engaged than TikTok. And to be fair, it's another level up as well when we talk about YouTube. YouTube followers are usually the most engaged with you. If somebody like sticks around on YouTube and watches you waffle on for an hour like I do, they are typically way more likely to do something on your behalf than like a TikTok or an Instagram follower. It's why a sponsored post on YouTube commands more than anywhere else. Like I promise you, right? And this is a pet peeve of mine. There are certain YouTubers that I watch, and I watch them, and they will, whenever they're in public, if somebody questions them on what they're doing, because it looks a little bit strange to be recording what you're doing in public, they were like, "Oh, stay in school, kids. Don't do what I do. It's a silly thing to do." I'm like, "You're a millionaire. Stop it. You stop acting like you're so hard done by." It really bothers me. Some food YouTubers are the worst for it, because it's like, if you're a food YouTuber getting millions of views a video, you are, and have been for years, you're a millionaire. So acting like what you do is this silly haha thing, it's like, come on. But if you're watching a video, right, and that person always gets hundreds of thousands of views on every video they post, and they post a lot, and every video has a sponsor, guarantee you, right, that person's charging 5 figures for their sponsored posts. YouTubers that are big make way more through sponsored posts than they ever will through AdSense, through views alone. Views alone is typically the smallest part of like a big YouTube creator's income. So yeah, my channel is nowhere near the point of getting sponsors yet. One day. I've put you back on the tripod now because my left front delt was starting to ache because it was push day today and I was holding up the camera for quite a while. I'll adjust. Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This is a bit of a different one. I want to start doing these a little bit more frequently because I'd quite enjoy, right, if I can post 2 videos per day, not just one. Or on days where there isn't a gamelog video, there's definitely one of these. Because what I could very easily do is I could look at the previous day on TikTok and be like, right, what questions did I answer? And then turn those into a video like this. For example, each one of these questions is a question from TikTok that I can or will have already recorded a reply to. That's where I got these questions from. So this is sort of an endless loop of being able to create content. And that, by the way, is another content tip right there, is create your endless loops. A lot of people, when they're looking at creators that have been doing it a long time, are like, how do you come up with ideas? And a lot of the time it isn't about coming up with the idea, it's about coming up with the loop. It's create that feedback loop of do thing that results in this thing that you can then use to create more of the thing. And then it goes around forever, and that's most people's job. So that works with literally everyone. So if we use the food YouTubers as an example, like I did a minute ago, they will post them eating, and then guarantee that every food YouTuber on the planet gets 1,000,001 DMs every day being like, you should go here and do this, you should go here and do this. So from one video now there's like 5 new places they could potentially go to and rinse and repeat, you know. It's create your content loop rather than having to come up with ideas from scratch every time. So like my content loop can be this, where I answer questions and try and give insight and, like, I don't know, just be myself on camera. And also obviously my gamelog videos. And in reality, there's a real decent chance that these videos get way more views than the gamelog videos, which is another incentive for me to be doing them, because they might help me grow a little bit more. And it might help you guys connect with me a little bit more, because obviously I don't really get on camera too much during the gamelog stuff these days, because I used to a lot more, but there used to be a lot more going on. Now I've sort of separated the CX stuff with the gamelog stuff, because the CX stuff isn't all the time. People are like, oh, you need to be on camera more, show us your day. And it's like, my day's boring. I work for myself, I never leave this room. I go to the gym like 4 or 5 times a week, and I see the dog. I can get the dog on camera a little bit more, that's a thing perhaps, but like generally I don't do much. So there's just not a lot to be putting into those gamelog videos. So I'm thinking I can expand my content ideas through stuff like this, and maybe sometimes a question will be good enough that I could do its own standalone video on it. Like any one of these might have been a decent idea. Like I'm probably titling this one something along the lines of why I record my TV with my phone, because I don't know, that I feel like I spoke about that for a solid 5 minutes or so. But like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, do subscribe. Be sure to like the video. And if you have any questions, stick them down below, because maybe you'll make it into the next one.